Good morning, Saeed.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Saeed, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for the help.
Saeed, this is Howard Schusterman. I'm the Chief Operating Officer of the company, and as you probably know, my uncle started a business about 70 years ago, and I came in about 45 years ago. So nice to meet you. I heard a lot of good things about you.
Oh, thank you very much. Good to meet you.
Saeed, also on the call today, and who will be doing the presentation, is Tony McCarthy. He's one of our European directors of REX3 Activate. We'll talk about that soon, but he's our European technical sales director as well. So it's his presentation today, something that we've been researching for quite some number of months. We were able to make a presentation to the NASA team last week. As you know, we've got good feedback, but we're really looking forward to presenting to you today. We think you're going to enjoy the content and like what you see.
Okay, great. I don't know if you know of the changes we've had in the organization in terms of...
There have been several changes that we've been made aware of, but I would sure like to get your perspective in terms of your new role and your team. That would be great to know right now.
Yeah, so you must have presented to the team last week. Amanda, who's joined us, she's reporting to me. She's joined us as the e-commerce operations director for North America, sports and entertainment, and would be essentially your focal point of contact for all North American operational aspects and product and e-commerce sales and everything. Jeff is now looking at global products and partnerships. And so from an e-commerce operations and the running of e-commerce, it moves to the global e-commerce team. I've sort of moved into a global e-commerce head of role. So Amanda reports to me. I will have an equivalent to reporting in Europe. So I'm currently sort of recruiting for my backfill, so to speak, and for expanding the team internationally. So I will be shuttling between the US and Europe as and when travel is allowed. But more importantly, I will be looking at relocating in the near future to the US as the team, at least the global team, is going to be based from there. So that's the change we've had.
Ooh, that's big news. That'd be great. I imagine you're looking forward to the change.
Yeah, I am. Although with the way we are trying to drive this company, international growth is one of the key areas. So I doubt I'll be very much spending a lot of time on home soil, wherever that may be. I'll probably be on a plane as soon as travel is allowed. But yeah, it's going to sort of two focus areas: grow the US business and just make it even better, but then at the same time take that and expand internationally, with different products and licenses that we've acquired. So that's the exciting bit.
I really appreciate that that communication, Saeed. Coming from you, congratulations to you, and what you're going to see today is going to support your effort in a big way.
Thank you.
Okay, so why don't we get the show on the road, Tony?
Yeah, no problem. Saeed, I suppose just to give a little bit of my background and my relationship with REX3 and TOPS actually goes back to the early noughties. Throughout my career, I've been in the UK, a little bit like yourself, lived on an airplane for long periods of time as well, but I was based in California, and we would have put in a digital asset management system to TOPS and in the late 90s, early noughties to manage all the artwork. And just kind of brings a smile to our face when we are here 21 odd years later and we're talking about the next evolution of the data. For my part, Saeed, I'm based in Southwest Ireland now. And as you can gather by American accent, I moved here. So I'm Irish natively. But Saeed, before I share my screen, I suppose where we're at in what we're presenting today is looking at every aspect of the data flow within the TOPS business from we REX as a supplier, our history of working at the cold face with card factories since 2008, and looking at how data can flow, data can get more efficient, so that we can stop some of the data leakages that are happening throughout the current workflow. So that's a big part of it. But where e-commerce plays a part is looking how to publish products, get products published in many different stores, and obviously with supporting internationalization, language, as we call it, the perfect product sheet. So all of that is going to come together today in our conversation. And, you know, as it's only yourself on the call, please feel free at any time to, you know, raise the hand, and we can have a chat rather than a soup to nuts presentation, you know, ask the questions as we go. Yeah.
All right.
So
Appreciate
please
that.
feel free for that. So I'm going to share my screen, and to quote Howard, we'll get the show on the road. So Saeed, we kind of call this a debrief. We're reaching out to all the stakeholders within TOPS to showcase what the strategy that we're bringing to the table. You know, and it's about expanding the possibilities. As you know, the evolution of e-com at TOPS and how it's come about over the last number of years, and it's changing. And, you know, the main sales property at the moment is within the Magento platform, and you're rolling out many stores. So, but a part of our debriefing here today is to put out there so we can expand the possibilities with data, and obviously maintain that relationship with manufacturing. What we like to say is that, you know, REX3 works with you guys, and we create and manufacture products of value. Products for the collectors. There's a unique supply chain to make sure that has to be smooth, so that, as we call the final piece of it, the strategic side, the upsell, we activating the chase. And activating the chase sounds really simple on a strategic when we're planning out new products to bring to the marketplace. But as we know, with manufacturing, how to actually manufacture and get the products in as part of the chase is key. What I want to just jump straight in with, we're calling this phase of the project X3, Card Factory X3. Up to now, Card Factory has been involved in it started out life as for managing retouching, and evolved into dynamic composition project management. With this new X3, it really is about bringing a complete new user experience for your operators and your team to manage, track, and drive projects, but also build that link to where your sales and digital properties are, to syndicate the product information out into that. We like to say it's global and it's mobile, so that the user experience of notifications and tasks, all of this is being considered. To achieve this, Saeed, we have looked at a complete new technology stack, a complete new architecture, because of that global expansion that you mentioned, the ability to be there with you, to support you. Up to now, we've very much an on-premise type support, but with this, with X3, we have crafted this on AWS from Amazon, so that we have all the tools, the infrastructure to achieve the scalability, of course, with the redundancy and the business continuity supports, the security, right through to the supervision, to ensure whatever jurisdiction that you're selling into, that they have the same level of connectivity everywhere in the world. And as you know, artwork and trying to get stuff moved around to make sure that you can maybe go to lower cost jurisdictions to produce stuff, but to know that you have the freedom and the security to connect to that. The next layer of our tech stack is what we call the application framework. We have chosen a product called PIMCore. PIMCore brought to the table to us what we call a master data management philosophy. And what we mean by the master data management, you may be familiar with the term, but it's bringing everything together. The media world and the digital world, you know, is acronym heavy. But a lot of the times when you hear digital asset management and PIM, product information management, they're data models. They're a way to structure data, enrich it, and deliver it. The PIM core brings all of this into the one framework. If you're not familiar with PIM core,
I know PIM core.
you know, Gardner and all of the analysts are very familiar with the platform, and in 2021 it has achieved the customer choice status. And as you know, with Gardner and their Magic Quadrant, PIM core is right up there with IBM and Content Serve. What we liked about it was the ability to give us the freedom to manage all the data models within the one framework, and of course sitting on an AWS environment to allow us the scalability as to manage all the data we manage today, but to be ready for the digital properties and the digital delivery mechanisms of the future.
Just a question there.
Yeah.
So considering we're using PIM core, are we looking at connecting this directly with our Magento storefronts, so that currently what we do is we've got Google Sheets where we've got data and then we share the information. I presume all of that will be handled through this stack that you guys are looking at.
Absolutely. In fact, the word, like I shared with Amanda the next day, is to product syndication.
Right.
Of course, step one, we want to put it onto your existing digital properties that you manage and control. But you may go into a jurisdiction where there is a marketplace or something that's quite the dominant player. So to accelerate your sales, you may want to get the product sheets into there. Do you know what I mean? So right. That's the flexibility, but you got it in a nutshell, right? I could actually stop the presentation now, Saeed. You've got it.
I'm sure there's a lot more behind the scenes.
Yeah, absolutely. To help us on this journey, Howard and his team there, have they have invested on their own tech team and continue to invest in their tech team, but to accelerate the time to market, as we as a group internally chose the PIM core platform, we reached out into the PIM core ecosystem to choose a partner to help us get to market quicker. We need to be hitting the ground running with certain brands in 2022. So we partnered with a company, would you believe they're European based? They're based in Bordeaux, France, Galilee. And Galilee, if you look at their profile on the PIM core page, 9 years working with PIM core, which is fantastic considering PIM core is circa 10 years old. In fact, they released their version this year called PIM core X to represent 10 years. And they've got the team of enterprise developers, but where Galilee is unique, and it's something that's very hard to find in the tech world, is people who actually understand the media operations world. You get a lot of companies that understand fintech and the big consultancy firms, but where Galilee is unique is they understand PIM, DAM, e-commerce. They have a significant amount of deployments within Magento in the B2B space. Handling circa 200,000 to 300,000 SKUs, providing custom unique pricing, on a per login basis, all of that, right down to processing engines for the likes of Louis Vuitton for their custom workflow where they personalize the Louis Vuitton products. So it's quite a unique, from a confidence point of view, they're part of a wider group called the Vigia Group, which is listed on the Paris Stock Exchange. So with that field, so I'd say that would suit you right now, but now you've moved to US, you're moving out of their time zone, but they were quite a unique find for us as we pursued that. But to jump back onto the presentation, and this is why I said I could stop now, the next click on my mouse is exactly to talk about what you mentioned there, Saeed, is that at this application framework level, the Pro app, PIM core should be talking directly with your Magento properties. And with the attributes, and I'll dig a little deeper into that when you see how we've modeled and visualized the data within that. Of course, you've got a global team. You're going to be expanding your global team in different jurisdictions. The final layer is what we call the Pro user experience, which is basically a dashboard style layout built on React. This does two things, Saeed, is that apart from providing a unique streamlined experience for your team, it allows you to also see a good example of headless connectivity where you can build the user experience separated from the monolithic application of old. Like, as you know, with Magento, there's some wonderful experiences you'd love to build, but the monolithic nature of Magento doesn't always allow that freedom. So in this particular case, we've built this front end for your users, your team, to basically create products, drive the strategy, configure, and push products out into the market, and obviously monitor, manage within the manufacturing fulfillment side of things. Mm-hmm. So that's the tech stack. I just want to peel back a little bit. You know, REX3 has a long history with TOPS, and before we, as you know, people not overly familiar, and even Galilee getting involved, you know, the process analysis, the one thing we all got very early is that there's a pretty complex ecosystem of data. But the unique aspect of it, and Saeed, I know you're not at TOPS terribly long, that the whole thing is powered by tribal knowledge. A lot of talent that understands how this thing comes together and gets to the market. However, as we look deeper, we like to look at, I'm only showing an example here to just visualize it. There's some fantastic domains of expertise and data domains that are like little mini silos. So the first thing we identified is how to connect these data domains and these mini silos together so that one contribution can be pushed along upstream so that they can benefit. But more importantly, is that if that information changes for whatever reason, that the changes can happen, but again, it'll affect upstream, or the notifications can be pushed out. So connectivity between the various domains of expertise was the first thing we identified, because the biggest thing then that jumped out at us at the beginning of any product development. Now, I know e-com has evolved slightly different to the hobby products, but if we take it as a benchmark, there's a lot of what we call passive data containers being used. Microsoft Word, Office, Excel, Google Docs, whatever that may be. But what we identified was that this product information contains some super information that can trigger a whole array of activities. But unfortunately, it's in a passive data container, a Word document. Mm-hmm. So how could we bring that to life, digitize it so that it brings, as I say, to life, to trigger a lot of activities? And as we expand it out, we use the Trevor Lawrence particular product. Now, I know this can fall in between the two stools of hobby and e-com, but as we know, this was sold within e-commerce. You know, there's a lot of strategic information, product information, technical data on this path to revenue, to producing the delivery docket, to getting to the collector or whoever it is, so that they can have that great out-of-the-box experience. And as we know, that sits in the bigger picture, like I said, with the, you know, we know we've transitioned a little bit from the Google Docs into a more Office 365 environment, but taking your Magento and then all the various social platforms to produce products, it's complex. So looking at where these various outputs and milestones was our next step of understanding the data. And then we go inside the box. And that's where the real fun kicks off, is the artwork. Everybody loves this slide, Saeed, who knows nothing about your business, when I'm showing engineers down in Bordeaux in France, because the richness of the data hits them immediately as we move into the artwork. Because the box is technical enough in the classic packaging environment. But when we start now digging deep into this particular product that is forecasted to be printed 25,000 times, with the various artwork strategy of 30 classic tops, 20 art, and then all the information that goes on the back. And let's activate the chase when we try to explain to people parallel and auto parallel and all the various reasons that come around. There's a lot of data going on there. And when I be talking to the guys at Galilee, there's a point where they got overwhelmed, and then they start looking at the projects they have been involved in managing data, and Howard's team there, Dan and all the engineers. Then the engineers do the classic, it's not too bad. But when you start magnifying this across multiple brands and multiple products, there's a lot of data that needs to get shifted around globally. And of course, the knowledge at the point of packaging to shuffle all these guys up it reminded me, Saeed, of the old slot machine in Vegas. You know, how can I create the shuffle, create the chase? And as you know, that's the key part of the customer journey, to create the retention. To not labor the point, we started to identify the patterns of the various containers of information. And that said, the knowledge, knowing that even to produce the artwork has a sub-ecosystem of its own with the various formats, the brand guidelines, the approval, the validation, so that we can manufacture that product of value. This is where we stepped out and went, oh, the containers are cool, they are linked. So now how can we actually bring all of this together? And I'm just going to nip over quickly, not to labor the point, but we started to visualize the data model with a view to also how would this fit into a user experience to manage. And we started to break it down into the hierarchy of the property level. That's the core, you know, and Saeed, I know you're involved in that. It starts with the licensing. When you license a property with a particular sporting brand, it's about bringing all that base information together right down to the subject. So you knowing, I'm a Formula One guy, I love my Formula One, knowing that you have to get all that subject data together so with the license so that you can bring it together and you apply your team so that you can apply your magic to turn these into products that we can monetize this license for profit. And understanding all of the cost reductions that we need to bring into manufacturing and making sure that we don't have the profit leakage due to data leakage. And the product description has a role to play in that. So upfront, in this particular case, we use Throwback Thursday as our example. Vincent was saying that it brings a lot of things together to help, you know, people who don't understand your business, you know, a few months ago, to actually bring them up to and accelerate their knowledge. So the product description has all the things that are decided earlier on in a program, and such as the SKUs, obviously your CODs coming from Oracle, setting prices, frequencies, launch dates, and all of that, right down to the e-commerce information and providing a user experience, Saeed, that I will jump over to when we actually look at the, you know, the traditional, where your guys spend their day inside in the Excel document, making sure all the HTML tags, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Can we provide a better user experience, but achieve the same output and consistently achieve the same output week in, week out? And that's what we were looking at here. In a product like Throwback Thursday, there's a lot of static information related to the product that appears within Magento. But again, allowing you the freedom to communicate all that and let the system apply the tagging, let the system provide and prepare the data sheet to go into the Magento environment. Saeed, a statement I used many years ago, well, not many years ago, in 2017 at a TOPS meeting. Magento, like all of these monolithic solutions, started out to achieve one thing: facilitate a transaction. And they've ended up growing into being more than they are. And with that, they bring a lot of legacy. So what we're saying is, let Magento be the transaction tool. Let's make sure it's a smooth operation to get into the credit card as quick as possible, and let a product information management system deal with the day in, day out of managing product information. And here was a classic case of that. But as you can see within the product description, we now have to move into the designs, the artwork, and in this strategy, it was said with Throwback Thursday that every 4 waves or every 12 card set has its unique design, and that switches. Provide a widget to manage that. I'll just slightly go over here to the side. That's where that world comes in now to balance this information widget with the base design, with the correct tags for this, the variables, as we call it, the 8 or 9 variables, and obviously manage a folder structure. Because when the art workers come in from anywhere in the world, that they can consistently access, and I will show the connectivity we're proposing there. And you're in design document. But as you know, Saeed, if we start just linking stuff together, even down to car technology and so, All of this information and naming and all of these tribal knowledge ensures that this gets together. But if I can utilize this data field of the base SKU and the system assists in all the naming and all of that, that's what we were looking for with the MDM approach. Information provided up front that can trigger behaviors week in, week out, and let the variable information that is specific to the wave or the week update. And the same with the pack configuration right down to the component. And as you know, the component gets a little trickier. You know, at its base level, the component is the product, and all of the various variations are created as part of the chase. And we have factored all of that in on how to manage the card tech to provide the user experience. And now we move into the wave level. And I suppose this is one of the reasons we're using this document, Saeed, is to actually say, how can 4 pieces of information be supplied on a weekly basis to drive this wave and efficiently get it produced week in, week out? And that's where we developed what we call, you know, the whole wave environment that deals with, first of all, the base subjects, where you can come in and search your subject database, pick, let's say, Mike Trout, which was the subjects for this particular first wave, Vladimir Guerrero, take these. And as you can see in the lower half of my screen, the subject lists are getting filled out. And then make your decision on the checkboxes where the short print. So my subject list, we're removing, cutting and pasting, all of these where the passive containers come into trouble. But while that's happening, within the wave, there is the e-commerce tab, and you can start to upload your artwork. You can see, check your SKU with the appending wave ID, all of these things that require somebody to type in somewhere, but can't we automate them? These are the efficiencies that we identified within. And as I showed you, the product description and all of these information, which are static at the product description level, populate them down and identify the variables. And it's like I said here with the checklist, there's, I think I should buy them a beer if I ever meet them, as the people who manage this sheet, to just show that the boring CSV file that makes the connection to Magento, that this information is populated and you're not clicking in between the tags to make sure it happens. That's just an example of how the bulk of the information is static. You know, of course, the SKU and the wave ID is the variable. Over time, the name, the product name will be the wave ID, the set number, which again comes from a high level, the design of the time. And just to show you, Saeed, what we're kind of looking at, if I come up here and for whatever reason within my design manager, somebody comes along and changes that to, you know, the 1956, is that it's reflected throughout the wave that it's assigned to, right through to the Magento export, that it's tagged in accordingly. And we're just trying to take off the burden of on the person who is tasked, that they have a nice user experience to manage all of this. So your wave ID will take care of, and look, basically we're also automating the naming convention, because the SKU is static, it's the wave ID is the variable, and all the various suffixes that need to happen. The set number, all of these will change, and I'll come back to the print run a little later. But the idea again, that as we expand this out, that you're going to have little helpers that will tell you how complete the product sheet is ready to go, that you can publish, and so on. Any questions, Saeed, so far on that? Because I know this is specific and very close to your business area.
No questions so far.
Yeah. So parallel to that, as we're moving, you can now see the task is assigned to the photo editor, and we move into the design tab to provide the imagery. So again, look, I'm working in a document here, so I'll do the magic of the document by just saying this is where they would drop in the images if they were on their desktop, the connectivity to Getty if they needed to go there, and of course the existing archive that has been managed. Same with there is also the text content And again, you can type in the base text, and we're just demonstrating this in Throwback Thursday. It's the same text on the back of the card all the time, to just, because within this little block of content, this can have an approval cycle of its own with the other brands, if this was something that was changing on a weekly basis. And again, with the image source data, that is all populated right along. And of course, everybody can then start going to work to actually produce the cards and start bringing them in. So that's a very high level introduction as to how we identified the product strategy. But we know that on the ground, in the background, you know, you have your base component or your base product that has its folder hierarchy that needs to manage the data and all the card tech. And each of that base component has its base variations that ultimately lead to cards right along. Mm-hmm. And finally, Saeed, the sale window closes. We know it's running from this till this, the print run. That's again a task for somebody when they close out that. There's a way that the product has to be updated, because that's a key part of the information. You know, we know you might be using some automated way of this, and this is why we're reaching out now to start the workshops. However, this is where it comes into the BOM. If you look at it, your BOM is sitting there, zeroed. Vince is below with the printing press warming up, mixing his inks, understanding what's coming down the line. But once the, for this particular wave, it was 4710. Once that number goes in, I suppose the first area you get the benefit of that is the perfect product sheet is updated and the product name is appended with the number. Then you have obviously all the information that needs to be visible within the product sheet. We want to reach a world where you now have the update button available to you, so you can push that update out into the e-commerce by way of the export. And we look at different ways. There are different connectivity tools between Magento and Pimcore, but again, that's down to how close we want to bring that integration. Mm-hmm. But from the BOM perspective, that 4710 becomes the calculator to start telling us the print run, the number of base cards that need to be printed. Of course, this has benefits when it comes to optimizing the best deal from the manufacturing and forecasting and so on. And you have all the information from a manufacturing perspective, right down to the component list. This is where the card tech comes together, the volumes and the quantities and the various numbers, but also making sure that your licensing partners are getting the examples that they need right along. So I want to take you through that, a bit of a heavy topic, Saeed, but it kind of brings it all together, how we visualize the data to bring it together, where that 4 pieces of input on a weekly basis, once we set up a product to get it out into the market with the most efficient way that the data, and we're not dealing with jumping into the passive documents or jumping into the Excel documents or jumping into Magento to provide these updates. Because once we have, so we modeled the data, we saw the containers, we have the relationship, we got the flow. So this is where the strategy kicks off with Pimcore. It's what we call unify the data to make more products and stop the data leakage. With Pimcore's open framework of GraphQLs and REST APIs, we can obviously have the opportunity to connect to Oracle to bring the ERP style information into the fold, your relics and other media where they may come from, as in like the Getty, so that we can consolidate, model it, enrich it, adapt it, and deliver it out to the card factory for hobby composition. There's packaging can come into play. There's your e-com digital properties. We have to look at the atomic world and NFTs. And of course, if you look at the way we're breaking out the MDM, which is a reflection of why we chose REX3, that you have the data models such as DAM for the media, product information management, and product content management, because the marketing now and your social media is to push people to the point of transaction can grow from the one consistent data framework. And to understand why we chose Pimcore, is to allow you the freedom and the flexibility, because with PIMCore comes a back office and data modeling user experience. And again, you can see this is just a mock-up here, but with that back office, you can, this is where we built the front end user experience for your team, so that they can come in built on React to give it the speed and efficiency right along, so that we can handle this multi-channel. And so when you get a chance, have a little scoot about on the PIMCore website, and you'll start to see the types of implementations they've used. But I'm going to jump out for the minute just to show you that. Again, clean, modern user experience, people will sign in. And of course, you know, their dashboards can be pushing their tasks, because as we know, we're overburdened with emails telling us what to do. But again, people can live inside in their dashboard. They can choose their properties, whatever they are, that takes them into that licensed data domain. And within here, you can coexist with your online brands. And again, as this working prototype, I can come to my Throwback Thursday, manage my product description, or jump straight into my program. Again, nice clean interface. I'll open it up here. You can move things around, sort, filter, all of the above, but I jump into my wave. And of course, with the project management element of this, Saeed, you would be coming into your dashboard, dealing with your tasks and jumping straight into the wave. And in this particular case here, look, I have doing a demo earlier with it, but again, you can have your mic trouts in here. But if I wanted to come in and change that to clay, I can type in my few characters, and all of that information is pulled from what we call the subject database list, which is, we know you're working with in the MLB particular case. But as you go, Saeed, you know, other licensing, we may be tasked with building subject databases, depending on the properties, because they may not have that, you know. So that what we want to do is give you the assurance that if you had a new license tomorrow morning, that you could, that we construct a subject database from the ground up, so that it can plug into the back office of this property. And of course, all of the items, and you see where it really comes into its own is when you go into the subject database list, all of that's in here. Then we come into the design, you know, but of course I changed it here. Now I have to go ahead. This should flag that you have the wrong image in here, and so on. And of course, in time, as the artwork arrives, you can start to see it coming in there. But Saeed, as somebody picks the photo editor, I want to show you another level of connectivity. Of course, I'm showing you here within a web browser experience, but your art workers and your teams all live within their Adobe space. So we have a connectivity in here with a product called CI Hub. And CI Hub will allow your team to connect directly to Getty, maybe Dropbox or PIMCore from within the Adobe suite of applications, so that they can jump straight in here to Throwback Thursday, navigate either the master designs that we could organize by the, you know, the various waves as it changes. But if I jump into the wave, and again, this is a mock-up prototype, all of my folder structure are all in place, because we're dynamically handling the naming conventions. They can dive right into the base card scenario, and the InDesign document is in here. However they wish to work, right click, open it, and that will be streamed directly into the InDesign, Illustrator or Photoshop, wherever they are working within the area. Equally, as the images from the photo editor would have been uploaded, they would reside within the master images folder. And again, they can be saved local, dragged and dropped, all within this environment. Because as we know, with dispersed teams, we want to kind of eliminate and streamline the delivery of the data to the art worker, so that there's no zip files and, again, leakage, you know, wrong file on the desktop, picking the wrong one, uploading it. So this is how we propose, right down to the artwork team that is preparing the various digital, you know, product information that you want to put out there. And we're not limited to the Adobe suite. This also works within the Microsoft family. Of course, the top three, Word, Excel, and PowerPoint, but also with Outlook, so that, you know, the brand team can again come in, navigate from within the environment of this data hosted up within the AWS framework. And let's say, just for a simple, you're going to a meeting and you want to actually bring the product artwork from that particular wave into PowerPoint so that you can ensure consistency. And the reason I'm showing you this, there might be other tools for making social media pieces, other tools for that you might be, like Illustrator, you might use a lot. So this is applying connectivity for the artworking team. Any questions on that, Saeed?
In terms of globalization, I mean, we just saw the example of how we are changing the text dynamically and the SKU and everything. How would this handle multiple websites and multiple languages?
The back office of PIMCore is fully internationalized. So it actually is down to a user experience.
Okay.
And I wouldn't, let me just jump out in here. Actually, I'll go down here to, oops, sorry. So within the, and the back office is the best way to describe this for you.
I'll give you a scenario right now. You know, with the Excel file for Magento,
Yeah.
what we currently do is we load one up in English, which is the same for the UK site as the US.
Yeah.
But then we create another 4 or 5 lines, depending on how many cards we have, for Germany, and then we put in the German translation.
Yeah.
Copy another 4 lines for France, Italy, Spain, and now we'll have Brazil and Japan and India. So how would I be able to keep all of that in one place?
Basically, like as I said, I know that the guys are working on it at the moment. If I got into the back office of it here, yeah, then guys have it offline at the moment. What I'll do to show you, I'll jump into the PIMCore just to show it you from the back office perspective. And the so if I log in here, oops, shouldn't come to this one. It really is, it's quite simple. It's about the one product sheet supports all the languages. Right. Okay, so this is PIMCore's standard demo. And let's say if I take just the cars, I'll jump on the one down here. Nobody will be demoing a Fiat. When you actually start to look at, you can tell us the languages that you need. Okay. And so what happens, let's say if this was your English product sheet, you would actually have a tab that will have exactly the same for German, so that you just do your translations following the same guide.
Right. Okay.
And what's wonderful is that in addition to that, we will have what we call a data quality helper. So as you can start to see which it'll give you the triggers to tell you which language is missing. Mm-hmm. Because as you know, Saeed, with the volume of this stuff, the French might have fallen behind for whatever reason. So when you actually look at your data helper, you can see what's complete and not complete. So if I come here to my base data and I put in Vincent, put in some information in there, you know, save it. Same with, you know, as you're making the translations into the various containers, the aim here is that then when you rerun your data quality on the whole thing, it starts to tell you what is complete, you know, not complete, partially completed. So do you see how it comes together? And what's really nice is that within the, have I the website settings, maybe not on this perspective, is the enabling of the different languages like Japan and so on. So what our role then, Saeed, is when we look at the front office that we're working within the applications, is that we'd work a similar tab system.
Right.
And of course, then through the the user through the user experience and roles and managers. We can be as finite as that, you know, the German team can't edit the English teams, but they can use it as a reference.
Okay, right.
And
So
of course,
it will all be in this dashboard.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, that's good.
And that's key. And then let the system in the background do the split. You know, send it to the correct. It's like in our data model, we identified at the property level. You need to identify what stores you're selling into. Because the one thing we don't want from the user experience, i.e., which happens a lot, is, you know, this particular property only sells in 3 jurisdictions. I don't want to see the 10 jurisdictions. I want to see the 3 I sell into, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So super exciting from that perspective on what we can craft in the back office. And this is why we're reaching out to you guys now. We've a lot of work in the trenches. We now need to bring you guys into the fold to say, okay, this is what I need. And I'll show you our UX development environment for that. Yeah.
Okay.
But as you can see, we're covering quite a bit, and it comes down then to the next part, which we call the publishing. And you can see my segments at the side. When we come to publishing now, it's all about product information, images, car technology, variations and attributes to feed out into the Magento, and maybe some of your mobile digital properties, whatever needs connectivity and needs the product sheet delivered to. But also just to factor in, Saeed, you know, we talk about e-commerce, but you also have the opportunity on the global level, if you're going to go with more bricks and mortar in a B2B as well, the flexibility with that, and all the tools that are required additionally with B2B, which is the discounting, custom pricing, and so on. Of course, the new world, I hate to say it, but I'm in the old man category now, but it's still exciting to understand what the future of the digital collectibles sitting outside in the blockchain purchase with the cryptocurrency and that path. As we know, before it ever hits into being pushed out there, there is still a product data that needs to be assembled, curated between a team and artwork developed for that world. We have the platform ready because we know it has a role to play in there. It shouldn't become a silo of its own.
Yeah, I agree.
Packaging, the great, you know, something that plays such a significant role in the open box customer experience, especially when it's e-com and it's the DPD guy that is actually your front of house as he chucks it at them in the door. With Galilee and our experience, but we also know the effect of packaging in relation to the bottom line and profitability. Again, if this is an area that needs to be developed out, it can all be developed within the one framework. Saeed, you may know from Europe, the pet food company Royal Canin or Royal Canin, depending how you pronounce it, Galilee would, and happy to demonstrate to you what their global efforts when it comes to helping a brand like Royal Canin to sell across 50 digital properties into many different jurisdictions. And I suppose, Saeed, it introduces an area that maybe your US colleagues are not familiar with, but you going into different jurisdictions and understanding compliance and different maybe consumer compliance that you have to adhere to, and, you know, with returns policies and all of these type of things, and having that unique information on the packaging. So not sure it affects you now, but it may in the future as you go into the different jurisdictions. So it's packaging, again, a data model that can be put in there. But as I come to the end of the presentation, it is about different experiences. And Saeed, this is what we want to do, is to allow people like yourself who's in the strategic, you know, we know the MLB story that has come into the news recently. That's going to have a lot of think-ins. How do we make up in a few years? How are we ready for that change in a few years so that we can grow the revenues to bring it on par to where we are today, but obviously still go for growth, even if that license was part of the family. And as you're looking at different licensing arrangements, You know, there's the memorabilia side of it, there's merchandising side of it. And as you're working maybe with smaller licenses, and let's say you came to Ireland and you were licensing Irish football, maybe there's opportunities not just to license maybe the card world or the collectible world, but again, to be rest assured, at the heart of PIMCore is a PIM. It's called PIMCore. So product information management is at the heart here. If that's what you were looking to expand the product information management for other products, all within the same framework, going out to the same digital properties. And finally, as I would talk about, this is a brand in France called Mangouche that specializes in custom t-shirts and so on. And this particular user experience, Saeed, is totally built separate from the data. And it's a classic headless commerce, which I'm sure you hear a lot about, where you can come in so that the speed is phenomenal, that you can create really nice, clean user experience that are responsive and mobile, so that the user has a really nice way to customize. So again, maybe custom cards as you're looking at new jurisdictions. But what we want you to have, like I said in the outset, the freedom to work with a digital agency, the freedom to go and create new experiences and break the boundaries of a Magento as you think about new strategies, you know, to grow revenue. And in this particular case, Galilee would have a PIMCore at the heart, their synchronization of data to the separate headless front end. So headless commerce will be part of our future. And that's just to demonstrate an example using the user experience separated from the data source. And finally, to wrap, how do we do this? As a team within REX3, we've been agile for a very long time. Galilee is a practitioner of agile, and this is an overarching process where we talk about working with you, the key stakeholders, to understand the user stories of each of the brands and the properties, set the priority, what are the priority brands we need to get ready. And I know you've shared with us the efforts within Monday.com, which was a fantastic guide, and to put them into short sprints so that we can go in property, brand, so we can start bringing your priority brands on board as soon as possible.
So in terms of timelines for this, what are the timelines?
The timelines, Saeed, that we're looking at, we really would like to, you know, if we have the buy-in from stakeholders like yourself, is to really just jump straight into workshops so we can understand the edge case scenarios and to ensure that our data model is match fit, you know, to get that first phase of brands out there producing perfect product sheets into the digital properties. Mm-hmm. So, you know, we really need that green light. So from that perspective, PIMCore is there as a whole. It's about time and effort to configure PIMCore. Okay. And we put in a lot of effort up to now. And, you know, same with the user experience that's going, and we will have completed the proof of concept so that we can work with you guys with Throwback Thursday to demonstrate that for you. So if we got the go ahead, I would like to think we'd be starting to look at crafting the brands within the PIMCore data model to start pushing them out as early as October. And then, of course, we need the testing and all of the above and training. But like as I said, it's about getting your priority brands. And of course, Saeed, with you, what would be your priority brand, we'll say, from a global perspective? Is there a particular license that you want to start really maximizing and pushing into the marketplace?
Saeed, Howard here. I have to jump out in about 5 minutes to make another meeting. I just wanted to say a couple of things that Vince and I was planning with Tony to actually come over to Europe to meet with some of our PSP partners and to kind of take a visit if we were able to get in. But however, because of the permissions and the changes in coming over to Europe is become for the time being, null and void. If at any chance that you want to meet with Tony, he could, no problem, fly over and to a half-hour flight, maybe 45-minute flight to visit with you. And if you wanted to engage with him on a one-to-one level with him, more the merrier. He has no problem with doing that as well.
That sounds good. Thank you.
I'm very lucky, Saeed. I live near an airport 20 minutes away, and our main flights are into Luton.
Oh, okay. That's good. That's close by.
Sometimes, obviously, pre-pandemic, I could actually go meet you for lunch, and I'd be home here in Ireland for tea.
Yeah, those days are sort of distant memory now.
Good old Ryanair. Michael O'Leary is getting ready to go at it again. So, you know.
Okay.
The timeline that Tony described, Saeed, does that sound that it would fit your needs?
Yeah, I mean, the sooner we can get, because this is, and Vince, you know this better than I do, you've been here longer, who dealing with these issues, this is long overdue in terms of having a streamlined approach to product launches. And the rapid acceleration we've had in e-commerce, you know, begs us to sort of really look at this very, very quickly. In terms of stakeholders, I mean, which stakeholders are you waiting for to get this green lighted? For how many more such debriefs do you have before you get the approval?
Yeah, I'd like to comment. You know, we showed this to Brad Ross and Joe Kellican. They realized that we may need to make one or two other presentations. The presentations that they are keen on getting accomplished are for those related to the bomb team. Okay, so the bomb guys, Matt Perrone came up. I'd really like to get some more of the, you know, we'd like to have another session with Amanda just to make sure that she's clear on it, because we believe that she has the right mindset for when it comes to product launches. But the likes of Joe Rotundo, who report to her, will have great impact. This will have great impact on their teams. Yeah. Yet Brad was going to create two more presentations or set up two more presentations. David Liner was mentioned as somebody that might need to see this. But right now, I know that it's the bomb team. From my point of view, the fellows, whoever is managing autographs and relics, you know, need to understand how the system would impact them as well. Because it's not only artwork that we're waiting for autographs to arrive at manufacturing. There's due dates. There's due dates for relics. Where are the relics? Where are the autos? All of these. So I guess we have not really identified all of the key stakeholders yet. You are one, Brad is another.
Yeah, because I would like the team in Europe to have a look at this as well. So like Dan Leiden and his team, because they do a lot of the product development on the European side for the football products. So it would be good for them to understand what we are working on, because this is very good. I mean, thank you for taking me through that. This is really good. This is something I've been wanting to get in place from a PIM digital asset management perspective, which marries in with our process. So I think this is it's really good that you guys have actually gone in and, you know, done all the work and the due diligence to sort of come to this point. I think I really liked what I saw so far. So yeah, thank you for this.
That's great. That's really great. We were hoping for that.
And Saeed, I heard exactly what you said. The brand guys, their buy-in is absolutely crucial. So Dan Leiden, and from that point of view, the NASE brand team, we showed Mike Lincolns, who you know, was the art director, obviously, and we'd like Nikki to see what Mike saw. But there's also the various brand teams related to the different properties in NASE.
Did Jeff take a look at this as well? Was he in one of the presentations? Jeff
was not. We've only done one so far, but we're hoping that Clay and Jeff, or you know, will get to see one as well.
Yeah, that would be really good, because yeah, Clay runs the whole product team, the brand team. So you know, it's his guys who would also get a lot of benefit from this whole process, because as you highlighted correctly, there are a lot of different stakeholders, because it takes a whole bunch of people to bring one product out into the market. So all of them all of them should be sort of involved and, in my words, sort of have some skin in the game to make this a success. Because every time you launch any initiative, people need to be involved. Otherwise, they'll be like, "Hey, I wasn't involved. I don't know what it does," and then it just dies in the water because no one's trying to take any steps forward.
Saeed, I heard you say, Vince, I'm sure you can appreciate. I can appreciate it. Rex is at the crossroads, of all those stakeholders. And we're charged with reconciliation and to making sure that the product, pleases, and, the customers are delighted. And so with our deep understanding of that product knowledge and also our tech background, we're just uniquely positioned to get this translated over to the digital platform so that we can expand the possibilities and accelerate your growth.
One thing I didn't see, and I don't think it is in scope of what we were talking about today, but I'll put the question out there. We are looking at a solution that will scale globally in terms of producing products. Do we have something to allow us to deliver and fulfill globally? I mean, we are already doing with 2 printers in Europe, and I know you have asked the printer in Japan to start that. Do we have a roadmap or a strategy on how we want to take that forward?
Well, speaking from experience, this is crucial. This effort is crucial to bringing more PSPs online in our network. Okay, the technical data sheets, okay, the brand compliance, what can you do, what can't you do, are all things that would actually be stored in the PIM. So just as you're sending out product data sheets, for Magento, I'm creating technical data sheets for each PSP. The raw materials required, okay, to have a consistent look and feel. Again, where we would specify those, find the equivalent materials in each market. Mm-hmm. If for some reason you were out of our network, you still have our product information sheets and our technical data sheets, and also a pretty good resource to get them up to speed as well.
And as you can see on the screen here, Saeed, Galilee, our partner, would have been the main architect behind this very successful company in France that was managing taking 200,000 orders a day of print work and redistributing them out to a cooperative printer network of up to 120 printers. Okay. So that full knowledge of being able to ensure the car technology and all that information and the load balancing and all of that. So we have a really strong team for that back end of it. And I suppose one area I didn't delve into too much, Saeed, is that when to conclude, like we say, when we look at data, there's the property and there's all the business end of the property, license management, the team that's going to the subjects, and then the subjects, people, places, or things, philosophy, breaking down, and the sales channels for that property. And as you come along and sliced and diced it with your e-commerce brands and you're rolling out new brands in each of the categories, is really coming down to a streamlined philosophy of saying each brand will have a brand strategy. And when you're ready to activate, there is product information that has to be fed into sales, that sales has to feed into manufacturing, manufacturing has to feed into fulfillment, where the product information is communicated to manufacturing by way of the BOM, and that customer service has that overarching view between sales and fulfillment with manufacturing in the middle. It all plays a crucial role. And to close the loop, the analytics to refine the brand strategy and stuff. So this is all within our sights, because as we dig down into each of these segments even further, we then have at the product level, the product description, the components, the subject database, and the artwork. We intend to move right along to the fulfillment component of this, to dig down, because everything that goes in at the beginning is going to be continually enriched as the product gets closer to that, because that's what we want, the out-of-the-box customer experience. Mm-hmm. So fulfillment definitely has a role to play in that, in this closed loop. Do you see what I'm saying? We try to analyze the patterns between each. Of course, Vince would be beating us up big time. Well, there's an edge case scenario, and there always is. but there is definitely commonality at each product level.
All right.
Tony, I suppose that one thing that Saeed mentioned, you know, is, and I could there's the idea of the KPI of the manufacturing network. Okay,
Yeah.
so there's an SLA for each of the PSPs. REX has its own SLA, and as you're in different, as you'll be manufacturing in different countries, there could always, and shipping to even other countries, it kind of gets exponential. And the customer service team needs to know where was it manufactured, and needs to be able to communicate at a very personal level, you know, sometimes with a customer service team to track down orders or to, you know, discuss problems. So that feedback loop is going to, we're going to need one for manufacturing, so that a product manager at Tops can come in and see, oh, does Throwback Thursday ship on time every week? You know what I mean? What are the numbers of complaints every week? You know, and could understand, you know, if this has input into the actually the revenue of that particular brand.
Mhm.
So that's the feedback loop that Tony just described to you, Saeed.
Okay, cool.
And
All right,
Gentlemen,
I have to leave. I'm sorry, I have something pressing right now. Saeed, it was very nice meeting you.
likewise, Howard, thank you for the time. I look
And
forward to seeing you.
I hope that one day we'll come together. And if you have any questions, you have a great team working with us.
Yeah.
Okay?
Thank you, Howard. Have a good day.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Howard.
Sa-
See you later.
Gents,
Saeed,
I'll need to jump off as well. I've
Yeah.
actually 5
Just-
minutes late for another meeting. But
just before you go, I mean, what I showed you was everything kind of from the product description level. We are working all user experience best practices using InVision so that your teams can collaborate and in the input, you know, outside of the data model. But one of the areas there that we would have mocked up as to what you talked about is that if I jump in at the brand level, that I should be able to start seeing things like this. My gross sales, new customers, you know, orders, what refunds, you know, Magento has that. You
Right.
know, that I can jump into Throwback Thursday and start to, you know, like I said, stat 1, stat 2, what are the weekly sales activities? Do you want to download a full report? We know that has to be, because look, best will in the world, we must make it, sell it, fulfill it. And if we don't have that continuous loop, so we are thinking about all that. And in fairness, it would be presumptuous of us to say what these information widgets, that's why we need to engage with you, the stakeholders, to say, hey guys, I need a widget on my dashboard that tells me this information right off without I chasing it.
okay. No.
We'll let you jump
Great.
off, Saeed. I really appreciate your time today. It's was very important for us to get your feedback, and I'm pleased with how the presentation went, to be frank with you. It's great to collaborate with you.
Well, thank you. It's really good, guys. Thank you for sharing.
Okay, sir. Good chatting and safe travels. Yeah.
Thank you. I'll be in touch if I've got any further questions, but thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem.
Perfect. Bye now.
Bye-bye.